Alright, good morning everybody. Hello again. Welcome to our next lesson here. This is Proceedings Before a Trial Part A. This is for the year 2019 to 2020. So our objectives and standards. You will be able to understand what happens during a booking appearance, and you will be able to identify the different types of bail release that can take place. And take a moment there to look at the standards as usual. Sorry about my crazy square as usual again there as well. Take a moment there and look at them, please. And our desired result, what happens after a person is arrested? So the first step after a person is arrested is called booking. Okay, so booking. Once a person is arrested, they are typically taken to a police station for booking, and this is the formal process of making a police record of the arrest. You might hear sometimes in old TV shows or movies, I should say, they might say, "Oh, book them," and that means take them down to the police station and make a formal arrest of them. Okay. A person will be asked their name, address, date of birth, place of employment, and details about any previous arrests they may have. They are also fingerprinted. Their fingerprints are photographed, which is known as a mugshot, kind of what you see here, and sometimes have other items collected from them, such as DNA, urine, or even handwriting samples as well. The next step is something called the initial appearance, okay? So a little bit of information here. The accused must appear before a judge within a short time period after being arrested and booked. Okay, that's their constitutional right. They have the right to be seen before a judge within a reasonable amount of time. All right, we don't want people sitting in jail for over a year or so not seeing a judge. During the initial appearance, a judge or judicial official will explain the accused of their rights and what they are being charged with. A defendant is given the opportunity to obtain a lawyer or have the court appoint a lawyer to represent them. So you can either have your own lawyer, or if you don't have the money or if you don't have the means to get your own lawyer, you can have the court appoint a lawyer, to represent you as well. A judge may also set bail during the initial appearance, and we'll talk about that here shortly. During a misdemeanor case, the defendant is given a chance to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Again, this is for lesser crimes, misdemeanors. Those involved in a felony case or more serious crimes do not enter a plea until later in the criminal process, known as arraignment. Okay, arraignment. During the initial appearance, the most important decision is whether a person will be released from custody and on what conditions. So let's talk about bail. You may have heard of this word before. People accused of a crime can usually be released from prison after they put up a certain amount of money known as bail. My apologies again, okay? Sometimes bail can be denied in serious crimes such as murder, but in most cases, most people are offered bail, unless it's a serious crime. And I know the green checks are hard to see there, but they are there. This is paid directly to the court and promises that the defendant will return for the trial. Okay. Sometimes people are unable to afford their bail and must use bail bond companies to help with their release. Okay. The United States Constitution states that excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted under the 8th Amendment. So we don't want to be charging people $1 billion for, maybe if they, stole a little bit of something. It makes more sense to charge somebody more money for a more serious crime, or obviously not chopping people's hands off or things like that, like they used to do back in the ancient times for punishments and things like that as well. Personal reconnaissance. A defendant can be eligible for personal bond, known as personal reconnaissance, if they are of low risk of not returning to court and promise to return. So these are people who, they don't really have a lot of criminal history. They didn't commit that serious of a crime. Maybe they have family or community ties, or their job requires them to be in the area, something like that. Okay. Now, to determine this, a judge looks at the charges and nature of the crime and the accused connections to the community, family and friends, employment, finances, and prior criminal history. Okay, so a lot of different things play into whether or not the judge will allow the person to be released on personal reconnaissance. Okay, that should say accused. Sorry, accused connections. Put apostrophe there. Sometimes a defendant must also meet requirements to be released on personal reconnaissance, such as residing or living with family or friends until the time of the trial, keeping a job or a steady source of income, and also report their location on a regular basis, whether it be to a police officer or to the court, where they are or what they are doing each day or at a certain moment. Information. Okay, most defendants proceed to trial based on information or details and circumstances of the crime from the prosecutor. Okay, so the prosecutor, gets their information from the police and detectives and things like that, and the prosecutor is the one who decides to file charges against the person or not to file charges against the person based on the evidence that has been presented to them. Formal criminal charges are filed with the court by the prosecutor, and this information suggests the person in custody committed the crime. Okay, again, this is just the evidence, witness testimony, other things that police may have gathered or detectives may have gathered to charge the person with a crime. My great uncle used to be a detective down in Philadelphia. He was a police officer for many years, so I'm sure he was very familiar with this process as well. People charged with a misdemeanor are not entitled. Sorry, let's just say are not entitled. Not is not are not entitled to a preliminary hearing or a subsequent grand jury review. Okay. Other parts of proceedings before a trial include preliminary hearings and grand jury hearings to discover if a person should stand trial, and we're going to talk about that in our next lesson coming up here shortly. Okay, so closure. What happens after a person is arrested? So we talked about a couple different steps that take place after a person is arrested, such as booking and bail and initial appearance and all those different things. So I want you to explain to me some of those steps about what happens to a person after they are arrested. Okay? Please try your best on the questions to follow. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.